Rare coin collecting. Discover real value and history in every coin.
If you're watching this, you might be holding a coin that's way more valuable than anyone around you realizes. Because hidden in everyday wheat pennies, old, brown, dirty coins people walk past without a second thought, are a few dates and mint marks that can quietly turn a pocket change penny into a $5,000, $15,000, even $100,000 plus discovery. And today, we're looking at 5 wheat pennies that almost everyone overlooks, coins minted during war, during the Great Depression, and during America's fastest industrial boom. Coins that survived melting, decades of circulation, and millions being lost forever. Some of these pennies have a real minting mistake that can multiply the value instantly. Others are rare simply because very few high-grade examples still exist. So before you toss your old pennies back into a jar, watch closely. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to check if your 1942D, 1937D, 1940S, 1953S, or the legendary 1944 Bronze Error might be worth a life-changing amount. This is the kind of information collectors wish they learned sooner. So let's start. Most people see a 1940s wheat penny and immediately assume it's just another old copper cent with nothing special about it. But what they don't realize is that the right 1940s penny, especially one with blazing red luster, sharp strikes, or a rare minting variety, can shock collectors with prices that jump into the thousands and sometimes even cross into the 5-figure zone. In recent years, pristine MS-67 red examples have sold for numbers like $4,500, $6,800, and even above $12,000 when the surfaces are nearly flawless. And because San Francisco had some of the most inconsistent coin strikes during this period, the small number of sharply struck survivors are exactly what collectors pay heavily for today. To appreciate the value of this coin, you have to step back into 1940, a year sitting right on the edge of massive global change. The United States was still recovering from the Great Depression. Jobs were returning, industries were rebuilding, and the economy was stabilizing. But the world was moving toward war. The Mint, including the San Francisco facility, was under pressure to produce millions of coins with limited manpower and aging machinery. Dies were used longer than ideal, quality control wasn't perfect, and coins often left the presses with weak strikes, softer details, and minor mint flaws. This is why finding a 1940s penny with full wheat line detail and sharp beard lines is so difficult and so valuable. Most were struck lightly, and even the brilliant ones often suffered immediate contact marks during production. Over time, the rarity of high-grade examples only increased. Most 1940s cents circulated for decades before anyone thought to save them. Copper is soft, so it picked up scratches, dents, and wear extremely fast. Countless coins were lost, corroded, cleaned with harsh chemicals, or toned into dark brown pieces that no longer qualify as red or red-brown. And every damaged coin makes the surviving premium examples even scarcer today. That is exactly why collectors chase MS-66 and MS-67 red pieces so aggressively. The supply is tiny, and it shrinks every year as coins oxidize or get mishandled. The metal composition of the 1940s wheat penny is the classic 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc mixture used before the wartime steel cents arrived. Copper reacts quickly to heat, humidity, and oils, which means keeping a coin bright and original for over 80 years is incredibly difficult. That original mint red glow is what brings the highest prices. A perfect red example is worth dramatically more than a red-brown or brown coin, even at the same grade. For example, an MS-66 brown might bring $125, but an MS-66 red can bring thousands. That's the power of color in copper collectors' markets. Condition and grading are the biggest price drivers. A circulated 1940s penny might only bring a small premium, but once you enter the uncirculated grades, especially MS-65 and higher, the value jumps fast. Collectors look for clean fields, minimal contact marks, strong strike strength, and vibrant color. The rare combination of all these elements is what pushes this seemingly ordinary penny into elite territory, where only a handful of coins exist. PCGS and NGC population reports show just how low the survival rate is for high-grade red examples, and that scarcity is what keeps this coin exciting year after year. Collectors love coins like the 1940S because they hold a special place in the Lincoln Wheat series, not extremely rare, but full of surprises. And those surprises often come from everyday sources: old family collections, coin jars, inherited albums, or penny rolls that haven't been touched for decades. Anyone watching this might have one sitting unknowingly in a drawer or box, and that possibility is what keeps collectors searching. So the next time you come across a 1940S wheat penny, look closely. Study the strike, check the luster, and never assume it's just a common cent. The next five-figure discovery might be hiding in a place you'd never expect. And the more you learn now, the easier it becomes to spot a treasure that others might overlook without a second thought.
The 1937D wheat penny is one of those coins that quietly hides in old collections, penny jars, and inherited boxes. Yet the right example can sell for breathtaking amounts, sometimes $6,500, $9,800, or even well over $15,000 when preserved in top-tier condition. Most people think pre-1940 wheat pennies are all common, but collectors know that the Denver Mint in 1937 produced coins with a huge range of quality. A very small percentage came out with crisp details, sharp wheat lines, glowing luster, and almost flawless surfaces. And those are exactly the pieces that now bring five-figure prices when they appear at major auctions. To understand why this year is special, we have to go back to 1937. The United States was still climbing out of the Great Depression. Employment was rising, but industries were strained, and the mint was working with aging machinery and worn dies. The Denver Mint in particular struggled with maintaining consistent striking pressure and die life. That created a mix of weak strikes, off-center strikes, minor doubled dies, and contact marks from rushed production. Imperfections that now make the rare perfect survivors extremely valuable. The economy was unstable, and because coins circulated much more heavily than today, even fresh coins quickly picked up wear. That means almost all 1937D pennies saw decades of hard use before collectors even thought about saving them. And that brings us to why this coin keeps getting rarer every single year. For one, copper naturally darkens and corrodes if not stored properly. A huge percentage of the surviving 1937D cents have scratches, spots, fingerprints, chemical cleaning damage, or dull, brown surfaces. Even coins stored in jars or albums can lose their original color over time. Many were also melted down, lost, or spent repeatedly until their details almost disappeared. Today, truly pristine examples, especially those graded MS66 red or MS67 red, make up less than a tiny fraction of the original mintage. That shrinking pool of high-grade survivors is exactly why the best examples explode in value whenever a collector finds one with near-perfect luster and minimal marks. The metal composition of the 1937D wheat penny also affects its rarity. These coins were made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a soft alloy that easily picks up nicks, scratches, and dents. Copper reacts to oxygen, oils, humidity, and storage materials, which is why red examples, those with their bright, original copper glow, are so valuable. A red coin in MS65 might bring $1,500 to $2,500, but an MS66 red instantly jumps to several thousand, and the rare MS67 red is where we see the $10,000 plus range. Red brown and brown examples are more common, but can still reach impressive prices if the strike is strong or if the coin shows an attractive patina. Condition and grading are what separate an ordinary 1937D penny from one worth thousands. A circulated example may only bring a small premium, but an uncirculated one with clear beard details, fully defined wheat stalks, and smooth fields becomes something special. That's why collectors rely on PCGS and NGC to verify authenticity and grade accuracy. A coin that looks nice to the eye might still have tiny marks under magnification that affect its grade and value. Meanwhile, that one lucky coin that escaped circulation entirely and kept its original surfaces for nearly 90 years becomes a trophy piece in any Lincoln cent set. Collectors love coins like the 1937D because they're full of hidden potential. They remind us that sometimes the most valuable finds are the ones people overlook. A coin minted during a tough economic era, handled by countless people, carrying the history of the Great Depression, and still shining today. That's the kind of story that fuels the hobby. And it's why people keep checking their old wheat pennies, because any ordinary day could be the day someone discovers a perfectly preserved survivor hiding in plain sight. So, whenever you come across a 1937D wheat penny, don't rush past it. Look for the luster, the sharpness, and the color. One tiny detail could be the difference between a common coin and a life-changing discovery quietly waiting to reveal itself. Next up, most people overlook the 1942D wheat penny because it looks like any ordinary copper cent. But collectors know that the right example of this exact coin can bring surprising money, sometimes even 4- and 5-figure prices, like $8,500, $12,000, or even $18,000 when the coin is in top-tier condition or shows a dramatic minting variety. While millions of these were struck at the Denver Mint, only a tiny percentage survived with sharp details, clean surfaces, and that beautiful bright red copper color that collectors fight over. That's why the best certified pieces graded MS 67 red or higher reach shocking numbers at auctions, even though most people still treat this coin like loose pocket change. Understanding why this coin holds so much potential means stepping back into 1942. The United States was fully engaged in World War II, and the economy was shifting in every direction. Copper was already becoming heavily demanded for ammunition production, wiring, and military equipment. Although the famous steel pennies didn't arrive until 1943, the pressure on copper supplies had already started in 1942. Mint machinery worked harder, dies were overused, and quality control was inconsistent as the workforce shifted to support the war effort. All of this meant a higher chance of striking errors, doubled dies, off-center coins, and weakly struck examples, many of which now carry significant value. The 1942 D doubled die obverse, for example, is one of the most sought-after varieties of the year and can easily reach $10,000 plus when found in high grade. Another reason this coin becomes rarer each year is simple. Time destroys copper faster than people realize. These wheat cents circulated heavily for decades, picking up scratches, discoloration, corrosion, and surface damage. Many were cleaned harshly, ruining their natural luster. Others were tossed into metal recycling by people who didn't know or care about collecting. Still more faded from bright red to dull brown due to humidity and oxidation, instantly dropping their collectible value. Every damaged or lost example makes the surviving high-grade coins even more desirable, especially those that manage to keep their original mint color for more than 80 years. The metal composition also affects its long-term rarity. The 1942 D wheat penny is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a formula that reacts quickly to moisture, skin oils, and storage conditions. That's why red graded examples are almost impossibly hard to find. They require decades of perfect preservation.
Red, brown, and brown coins are far more common, making pure red coins extremely valuable. A well-struck, spotless MS-66 red can already bring thousands, and MS-67 red is where those huge five-figure prices begin to appear. For collectors, color isn't just cosmetic, it's money. Condition is the biggest factor in determining this coin's value. A circulated 1942D may only bring a small premium, but a stunning, uncirculated one with full wheat lines, sharp beard details, and glowing luster becomes a prized piece in any Lincoln collection. That's why grading from services like PCGS or NGC is so important. They verify authenticity, color, strike sharpness, and surface preservation. And once a coin is sealed in a high-grade slab, its market value becomes undeniable. Collectors stay excited about the 1942D because it represents one of the last copper cents before the wartime material shift, and because hidden gems continue to appear in old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten rolls. Anyone watching this video might have one sitting somewhere without realizing its potential. That's the fun part. A penny made during a time of global crisis can still surprise people today with unexpected value. So whenever you come across a 1942D wheat penny, don't ignore it. Look for strong luster, clean surfaces, and bold details. You never know. You might be holding a coin that survived war, circulation, and decades of wear, only to reveal itself now as a collector's treasure that most people would overlook without a second glance. Next up. Most people don't realize that the 1944 bronze wheat penny, although common at first glance, can still turn into a surprising treasure if the right variety or condition appears. The regular 1944 bronze cent isn't rare like the famous 1944 steel error, but collectors pay serious money for high-grade survivors, double die varieties, off-center strikes, and those incredibly well-preserved examples that somehow escaped the heavy circulation of the mid-1940s. That's why some 1944 bronze cents in MS-67 red have sold for jaw-dropping prices like $10,000 or even $15,000 when the color, strike, and surfaces are nearly perfect. And if there's a dramatic minting flaw, like a bold double die or a major clipped planchet, those can reach $5,000 to $25,000 depending on eye appeal and rarity. To understand why this coin holds strong value, you need to look back at the world in 1944. The U.S. Mint was operating during World War II, a time when metal supply chains were unpredictable and industrial demands were enormous. In 1943, cents were made of zinc-coated steel to save copper for wartime materials. By 1944, the mint switched back to bronze made from recycled shell casings, giving these coins a slightly different tone and texture from earlier wheat pennies. The economy was strained, machinery wore down faster, mint workers were rushed, and quality control wasn't perfect. Because of this, imperfections and striking anomalies became more common, many of which collectors now pay premium prices for. Over the years, the number of high-grade 1944 bronze cents has steadily declined. The majority of these coins circulated heavily for decades. Many were scratched, bent, cleaned, corroded, or simply lost to time. Some were thrown into scrap metal, some damaged in coin machines, and some oxidized beyond recognition. Even today, people unknowingly clean old wheat pennies with chemicals, removing their natural surfaces and instantly destroying their collectible value. Every damaged piece leaves fewer top-tier survivors, and that growing scarcity is what pushes the best examples higher in price year after year. The metal composition plays a big role. The 1944 bronze cent is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Copper naturally darkens and reacts with oxygen, fingerprints, and moisture. That's why uncirculated red examples, those bright, original copper-colored coins, are the most valuable.
Collectors pay the most for coins graded MS65 red or higher, and those are extremely difficult to find because copper tones quickly, even when stored carefully. Meanwhile, brown and red-brown coins are more common and less expensive, though rare errors or strong die varieties can still push those into 4 or 5 figures. Condition is everything for this coin. A worn 1944 bronze penny might only be worth a small premium, but a clean, sharp, untouched one with glossy luster can jump to hundreds or thousands. Grading agencies look at strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and color. Red examples in MS66 or MS67 are where the big numbers appear. A perfectly preserved one with almost no marks can surprise even professional collectors. That's the magic of copper coins. Tiny differences make huge changes in value. Collectors are always searching, because even though millions were minted, the number of premium survivors is tiny. The thrill comes from knowing that a simple wheat penny sitting in someone's drawer, box, or old pocket collection could unexpectedly be one of those top-grade pieces worth far more than anyone imagines. And it's coins like the 1944 bronze cent that remind people to look closer, because an everyday coin can suddenly reveal a rare die variety or an exceptional condition that changes everything. So if you ever come across a bright red 1944 bronze wheat penny, or one with unusual doubling, off-center striking, or silky original surfaces, treat it carefully. You might be holding a small piece of wartime America that collectors are ready to compete for. And the more you learn about these hidden gems, the easier it becomes to spot treasures that most people overlook without a second thought.
Next up. Most people don't realize that the 1944 silver wheat penny isn't supposed to exist at all. The U.S. Mint switched back to making pennies from copper in 1944 after the steel cents of 1943, but a tiny number of leftover steel planchets accidentally slipped into production. That mistake created one of the most sought-after error coins in American history, the 1944 silver-colored wheat penny. And even though millions of normal copper cents were minted that year, only a handful of these steel transitional errors have ever been confirmed. That's why the few authenticated examples sell for shocking amounts: $10,000, $30,000, even over $100,000 when the coin is in top grades with strong eye appeal. The rarity isn't just high, it's almost unbelievable. To understand how this happened, you need a little look back at the economic environment of the time. In 1944, the U.S. was still deep in World War II. Copper and tin were needed for ammunition and communication wires, so in 1943, the mint temporarily made pennies out of zinc-coated steel. By 1944, copper reclaimed from recycled shell casings returned to coin production. But the mint's massive machinery didn't empty perfectly. Some leftover steel blanks stuck in the hopper and were struck with the 1944 dies. It was a tiny, unnoticed moment during the chaos of wartime production, but that mistake created a rarity so extreme that most collectors will never see one in person. What makes these coins even scarcer today is the natural decline that happens over decades. Steel cents rust easily. Humidity, skin oils, cleaning attempts, and simple exposure to air can destroy the delicate zinc coating. Many of the few surviving examples have already deteriorated, leaving incredibly few high-quality pieces. And because steel cents were magnetic, millions were accidentally removed from circulation by magnet-based coin sorters or scrap drives throughout the 1950s to 1970s. Every year, more of these coins get damaged, lost, or thrown out by people who don't realize what they have. That shrinking survivor population is exactly why the prices continue rising. The metal composition is the key giveaway. A true 1944 silver penny will stick to a magnet. It should be made of low-carbon steel coated in a thin layer of zinc,
exactly like the 1943 cents. A genuine one weighs about 2.7 grams, not the 3.11 grams of a normal copper 1944. Many fakes exist, usually created by stripping copper off a 1944 cent or plating a 1943, so weight and magnetism are essential first tests. Professional grading is the final step. A 1944 steel penny in XF or AU might already be worth 5 figures, while a mint state example, especially MS65 or higher, can reach life-changing numbers. The best-known piece graded MS66 sold for over $110,000. That's why grading matters so much with this coin. Collectors love the mix of history, rarity, and the thrill of the unknown. Anyone could have one sitting unnoticed in an old jar or inherited collection. A coin that looks like an ordinary steel penny from 1943 might actually be the wrong year, the wrong metal, and worth more than a car, a wedding, or even a house payment. That sense of possibility is exactly what keeps treasure hunters excited, and it's why more people check their change and old wheat penny jars now than ever before. If you ever spot a silver-colored 1944 wheat penny, grab a magnet, check the weight, and protect it immediately. You might be holding a piece of wartime history that survived against all odds. And the collectors paying these massive prices are always watching for the next one that surfaces from someone who simply decided to take a closer look.